Hello, I am Ron Baker. Welcome to Empowered at Last. Today we're going to continue the series that I've just begun on introducing soul consciousness. In order to make sure that those of you who haven't seen this series from the beginning, I'll start out with a very simple, clear map. This is a map of self, a map of what will allow us to all know the wholeness of self, your whole integrated self. There are three primary levels of consciousness that we all contain, or three levels of potential if words like consciousness seem too remote to you. The first level at the center of our beings is the potential of wonder child consciousness. Then we move out to empowered adult consciousness, and then we move further out to the greatness of soul consciousness. At the very center of those concentric circles is where we hold the core of self. The goal is for us to learn how to make a connection inward, connecting to the core of self, and then integrating all three potentials: the wonder of child, the empowerment of adult, and the greatness of soul. However, because of the level of evolution we are in as a planet, most of us began this life very much in the wounding of missing needs, lacking a world that knew how to present the 9 nurturing experiences that we all need in order to establish that healthy foundation of self and trust in life. I talked about this a great deal in last week's podcast, so check that out if you need more foundation. So today we're going to talk about some practical things from the soul perspective. Your soul knows from the time you are born what your perfect setup is for this lifetime. You spend the first 8 years of your life setting up the physical, emotional, and mental impressions, experiences that become your description, the hard drive of your computer or your nervous system. And that is the initial starting place for you in a lifetime. This is perfect for each person. It's why so many people are in so many different situations, with different challenges, with different opportunities, with different interests. The individuality is profound, and yet we all share the same 3 levels of potential. We all share that there are 9 nurturing needs that we all want and need in every stage of our life, starting in the first 8 years. If we get those, then we establish this healthy foundation to continue growing into more and more of ourselves. When we do not get these 9 levels of nurturing, we become very impacted, very wounded. There are gaps in this inner connection to self. And instead, when mommy and daddy, or whoever your caretakers happen to be, did not know how to see you in value, to acknowledge you in compassion and clear guidance, support and encouragement, into yourself, not just out into the world. Of course, we needed both, but mainly to see you as a sacred individual. I have taught thousands of people around the world, and I have never met someone yet who got the kind of education and the experiential nurturing that was needed to establish a truly solid foundation of trust in their value and trust in life itself. Life is way more on our side, each one of us, in the individual setup of our lifetimes than we have been taught how to understand or recognize. Just ask yourself, did anyone ever say to you when you were little, "Oh, you are such a sacred individual. You are on a soul journey. There is infinite potential inside you. You can grow into as much as you decide or as little as you decide. You are lovable either way." I don't think I've ever met anybody who got that message, and yet I'm saying it to you now. That is the deeper truth. You and I are sacred individuals on a soul journey, and there is so much more potential held inside us. And however far you choose to go, which requires learning how to nurture and resolve the particular challenges that were set up in your early life. Awesome. No matter what grade you're in, it's going to hand you the next level of curriculum. That's going to include challenge. When you're in first grade, you have the challenge of learning to do addition and subtraction. When you're in fifth grade, it's a different level of challenges. And it's not just academic challenges, it's challenges to learn how to negotiate with people, how to communicate, how to give and receive, how to be away from home, how to stand on our own feet, how to recognize what's working well and what's not. All of that is the natural curriculum of every grade or stage of our lives, as well as every stage of your soul journeys. Did you know that there are 7 levels of soul? Did you know there's so much that I was never taught, and I have dedicated my life to finding out more and more and more healthy information about you and me, healthy information about life and how it works. So what I'd like to focus on today in this soul series is the movement of one level to the next level. What creates the shift from wonder child consciousness into empowered adult consciousness? It's not just because you grow into an adult body, because, my goodness, I grew into an adult body long before I had any clue how to claim adult consciousness. That doesn't mean I wasn't capable of a lot of adult things, but I'm talking about an awareness of an empowered being who trusts his value and trusts that life is supporting me and trusts how to resolve every issue: physical, emotional, mental, sexual, spiritual. I didn't know how to embrace that level of empowered consciousness because not only was I not taught personally, I looked around in all my world travels and realized almost no one was taught the levels of potential self and how to truly become an empowered adult, much less move into the greatness of soul integration. So, what causes the shift from wounded child or even wonder child, if you got all the nurturing that you needed, into adult consciousness? There are movements of energy that move through our bodies. One of those 3 primary forces is called Kundalini. Doesn't matter whether you decide to embrace the terminology and get to know yourself on a more scientific level, but there is still energy that moves through your body called Kundalini. This is the sexual creative force. It is the desire to move toward life, to merge with life, including self. So this sexual creative energy moves through us at a certain level. When we reach something called puberty, that Kundalini accelerates and begins to build up and build up And this brings up tons more of our personal potential. It is preparing us to stand more on our feet and move from child into the opportunities of adult empowered consciousness. This shifts us in a big way. We know, I assume everybody watching this video is likely an adult, so you know what it is to move through puberty, how your body changes, how your emotions deepen, how your sexual energy deepens, how your awareness of life and what you want to move into deepens. This comes from an acceleration of energy called Kundalini. Well, guess what? When you reach enough time in adult consciousness and you are ready for more potential, you reach something called midlife. Guess what happens at midlife? The same exact Kundalini energy accelerates and begins to build up pressure that is attempting to push us through another veil into an even bigger expansion and awareness of life. This is the time when we are intended to have just as huge a deepening as we had when we were in puberty. However, because most of us didn't get those 9 levels of nurturing in the first 8 years, and then we end up trapped in wounded child consciousness, and then we move into our adult bodies and our adult lives, fighting and pushing and pulling and trying to fulfill the agendas of fear, shame, and judgment that we ended up creating when we didn't have those nurturing needs fulfilled. And then we end up building all kinds of blockages of fear, shame, and judgment in our bodies. I am fortunate that in my early 20s I discovered having a gift called clairsentience, an ability to feel things on an energetic level, an emotional level. A very deep, acute level is the point. And so not only could I feel these blockages in my body, which helped me identify where they were and learn how to nurture them and open them, I could also feel it in other people. And then I began to help thousands of clients around the world become aware of where they have built up blockages, which comes mostly from fear of certain experiences. And we end up in shame because we weren't nurtured and acknowledged. We didn't learn to trust our self-value in huge ways. And it left us with gaps of self-doubt. And so with all these blockages, when we reach midlife and this Kundalini accelerates, wanting to expand us into even more of our potential, it ends up slamming into the blockages that we've created. And this accelerates issues, problems, even crises in our bodies. This is the time when we start to watch an acceleration of physical manifestations of various kinds of illness or disease, even an acceleration in the aging process. All of that is when we're intended to move into even more of ourselves, but at the stage of soul evolution on our planet, we haven't been ready. We haven't prepared ourselves until now to truly begin to negotiate those levels. If you look back at the planet over the last 30 years, we have already accelerated into levels of knowledge, levels of experience, levels of conversation in 30 years that blow away the progress that was made in the thousands of years prior. We have literally moved into such an expansion of knowledge and technology, and even a searching for something more in self than has ever been the case on the planet. Why is that? The Kundalini is accelerating, and that's just one of 3 primary forces. That Kundalini is accelerating and raising the vibration frequency on the planet. It is one of the primary reasons this is happening. But as far as self is concerned, it is the main one that we need to focus on first. We need to learn how to clear a passage for this Kundalini to actually clear those blockages so that it doesn't create havoc. And yet, all we have to do is look at statistics. In those same 30 years, the acceleration of heart disease, cancer, it has become out of control. The acceleration of many, many things that reveal Kundalini is slamming into blockages and causing people to go into deeper fight and resistance. So many things. I even notice an acceleration of the people who are leaving the planet. We're hearing about so many numbers of people opting to commit suicide. There are many, many reasons for this, but the primary one is the pressure that is building up without nurturing tools and clarity for understanding what's happening, for knowing how to resolve it in our bodies, pushes people to limits that they don't know how to negotiate. And so they just want out. I had a very dear friend who did this and made this choice just 1 month ago. A profound, loving, amazing, gifted, talented person. This is something that is impacting all of our lives. This acceleration of Kundalini, this acceleration of pressure. Because of that, in the next months, I'm going to be releasing some really powerful, helpful information. A new course that is how to deal with anxiety and depression. I'll explain what they are, what it comes from, and how you can definitely resolve those things in your life. Way more people are emotionally depressed than know how to recognize this is true. Anytime we do this squashing of our feelings, trying to push them down rather than feeling safe to feel feelings, we are creating more emotional depression. So there are clear answers, clear tools, clear ways for you to nurture and resolve every one of these things so that you can prepare to move with this Kundalini acceleration into the greatness of soul potential. This requires that you show up as an adult and make some wise choices for yourself. So communicate, reach out. If you need help, if you need more information, like I did, reach out. I have dedicated my life to this and am so grateful for the opportunity to have taught thousands of people around the world. I'm also thrilled to tell you that 100% of the people who actually apply the tools and the clarity of information make distinct, consistent forward moves into more and more of their potential, creating lives that get better and better and better. I do not believe in saying things for marketing and propaganda. All of that drives me a little crazy. But at the same time, I want you to know what is possible here, what is possible for you. So let me hear from you. If you enjoy these podcasts, please pass the word. Tell your friends and family. I am doing everything I know to get this out into the world because it is so needed as we move into the pressure or the breakthroughs into our highest potentials and finally learn how to resolve the wounded child self that most of us carry around in huge percentages. So please, reach out. Let people know. Let me hear from you. Let me know the kinds of things you want me to cover in future episodes. I thank you for being here. I say blessings to you. Have a great week, and I will talk to you soon.